was your question, honey?
So, Octavia, tell me what drew you to this part?
Actually, it's funny. We've seen so much archival footage about the space race and, you know, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and all of these astronauts. And when I heard this pitch to me, oh, it's about these 3 black women mathematicians that helped, you know, get our astronauts to the moon, I thought, well, that's great. That's a great, you know, great story, but won't people know that it's not true? Because we'd never heard this before in the history of ever. And when I found out it was a true story, it was something that I felt like I had to do. I felt compelled that we will not go into another decade without us knowing about these women.
Wow.
Like there.
Catherine, we all gonna end up unemployed riding around in this pile of junk.
You're welcome to walk the 16 miles. Or sit in the back of the bus.
You have identification on?
We're just on our way to work at NASA, sir.
I had no idea they hired.
There are quite a few women working in the space program. What about you? What made you want to play Saru?
Hey, roles like this don't come by very often for someone that looks like I do, you know? And,
what? You're totally gorgeous.
No. It's, you know, to get a script that's so profound and modern, to play, you know, kind of my role is split into 2 parts. There's this beautiful young boy, Sonny Pawar, who leads for the, you know, the beginning of the entire film. And then I come in, you know, more than halfway through, and I'm playing a completely different version of the same man, this boy who is a complete Australian through and through, down to the cricket team he supports, he's all Aussie, you know, and he's been trying to suppress a part of his culture, and I could relate to that in a way. You know, growing up in school, I did everything I could to fit in, and I suppressed my heritage, and it was only when I went to India to shoot Slumdog that I kind of, you know, it opened up this whole world and I could relate to that. But, you know, it's again a true story about this guy, Saru Briley, who basically tracked down his mother, you know, from space. You know, he was separated from her on a train, you know, at 5 years old, and it's just a beautiful story of humanity, really.
It really, really was. And I have to tell you, honey, I was so blown away by that Australian accent, because I love accents. I can't do them.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I'm so bad with accents.
No, that accent was, it was amazing. And I totally believed that you were, you know, even adopted into this Australian
If you could see
life.
right now, I'm blushing.
It was amazing.
No, that was just, so as soon as I got the role, after my last audition, I called up my manager and I was like, Steph, you know, don't send me anything for the next 8 months. Like, I want to completely commit every fiber of my soul to this journey. You know, the script demands it, the story demands that. And I had this amazing dialect coach, Jenny Kent, who worked with me every day for an hour every day for all those months. She knows the script better than I do on getting it. Because, you know, for me, I don't know about how you do it with accents, but it starts off really broad. And to, you know, to cut away the fat until it feels natural, and for to really think in that voice is the hardest thing.
It's funny because the one time that I actually was just getting ready for an audition for a South African woman, and I literally had to do it for a week, and I just said, you know what, I'm just going to drop into this, and I have to use this accent every day, every minute of every day, and you know, it didn't sound quite South African. So I'm impressed. I'm impressed, you know, with that determination, because it really, really was effective.
You okay?
Saru? I'm not from Calcutta. I'm lost. I played a mathematician in a movie once, and I wanted to ask you, like, was there anything you could relate to in the mathematics, or was there any people that you could use as references, or how did you wrap your head around something that, for me, I'm terrible with math, so I was wondering.
I like math. I like, okay, I like basic math, and I like algebra with trigonometry. This stuff was a whole different level. The analytical mind is so different from the creative mind, because I feel like they look for the things in absolutes, and we actually like you know, the infinity of everything.
Yeah.
And when I can't grasp, you know, the fact that you know, that free spirit, free float, it was really hard to boil it down. But Dorothy Vaughan, the character that I play in Hidden Figures, not only was she mathematically inclined, you know, they are considered polymaths, that they, you know, could go in and out of the different fields of mathematics and, you know, all this stuff that I have no idea that I can't wrap my brain around. Like when I took calculus, day one, I said, this isn't for me. They're talking about imaginary numbers. If they're imaginary, they're not real, and therefore I can't grasp it. I'm done with this. So it's funny. When she was younger, her father taught her how to disassemble a car and reassemble it.
That's the beginning shot of the film.
Okay,
it's you underneath the car. That was amazing. Yeah, I love that.
Ooh, I was just terrified that it was going to fall down on me. That's Octavia.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not mechanically inclined at all. And the one thing, besides, you know, all of the research that I did about who she was as a woman, to try to fit into her world, because she could fix anything electronic.
Wow.
So I was hot in Atlanta, and I like to have, you know, white noise and, you know, air blowing on me at night, free moving air. So I asked production to get me a fan. And they brought me a box fan, and of course I thought all I have to do is take it out of the box and it'll be ready. It wasn't. I had to assemble it.
No.
And normally you just say, can you have somebody at production put this together for me and I'll pick it up. But I realized that Dorothy would have, you know, had that fan hooked up and ready to go. So I did try to do it with a butter knife, because I didn't have tools in the condo that I was staying in, and it was horrendous, because by the end of the week it started making flapping noises. I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, what's that? It was terrible, but I was happy to have attempted something that I knew that she could do.
I think that's really amazing. You can apply that to acting in a way as well.
Yes.
You know, disassembling a person, a character, and then reassembling it in your brain once you really understand each kind of.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
But I got to say, as soon as I could hear your voice, and this is a testament to you. There's just so much warmth and love there.
Oh,
and as soon as I heard you, I couldn't even see. I could see your legs, and then you're talking underneath the car. I'm like, oh, you know, you have this quality. You know, there are technical actors, which you are, great technicians. But what I look for when I watch a movie is a soul.
Yeah.
A soulfulness, and you have that in everything. Like I remember watching Fruitvale. And I was just like, God. And that's why I asked you when we were doing those photos. I was like, do you have children? Because you have this maternal instinct, which kind of shines through in your characters, and even in this movie. You know, you are the one that looks over all the other women. And you do not take on an opportunity the character doesn't, unless you can bring the girls with you and raise them up. Yeah. And for me, as a young British Indian guy, I looked at that and I took great inspiration, and, you know, together we are stronger.
You know what we're doing here? We're putting a human on top of a missile, shooting him into space. That's never been done before. I need a mathematician that can look beyond the numbers.
You have someone?
Running what I'm playing.
Catherine's the gal for that. Well, it's funny because you and I were talking about where we were with what's happening in the zeitgeist in our country right now, and how for the first time it just felt weird doing what we were doing, but the beauty of Lion and that story and that beautiful little boy who just has the light of the world in his eyes, and then you know, step in there at age 25 and you have that same light. I realized that this is what we need. We need that light. We need that hope. And I was so transfixed by the relationship between your character and Nicole Kidman's character. Did you guys, when you were getting ready to do it, how much time did you get to spend with her?
Well, I think Nicole's been prepping for this film all her life, because she's a mother with adopted children. So she was kind of like, you know, the first scene we did together was this scene where I go in and visit her in the room, and she's talking about, I have this line where I'm like, I bet you wish you could have had your own children, because you know, they don't have the baggage that we do, you know. And she's like, you know, are you crazy? You know, I could have had my own kids. Oh no!
That was so beautiful. I literally just, okay.
But she was incredible. And I remember sitting there having a front row seat watching this incredible movie star just open her veins out. And I entered that room and it was, the whole atmosphere was just quiet. And Nicole's sitting there and there's the sea in front of her. And she's just looking out and she didn't look at me. And I was like, okay, we're in it, we're in the space. So that process with her in the movie, we both came really pregnant with emotion to it, you know, to the scene. And Garth, our director, is a master of tactility. So he'll do exercises, we'll just get you to hug for a while or do things, and that breaks down that awkwardness and allows, you know, her to touch me and me to touch her and, you know, do those kind of things, you know.
It was so beautiful, and the relationship, the strained relationship with your adoptive brother. It was just, you had so many layers, and I've seen so many different characters that I loved.
Likewise, this should be the other way. Wait a minute.
No, honey, you have done a great job picking very different roles, because let me tell you.
So this is what I wanted to ask you. I've been dying to ask you. You know, every time I do an interview, everyone's talking about a typecast or something. How do you avoid? And it kind of makes me cringe because I think it's really loosely thrown around. You know, but I wanted to know your opinion because you've done such an amazing job of navigating and you know, breathing life into so many roles and achieving so much. You know, like how do you do it?
I got to tell you, it isn't easy because, as you know, there aren't that many great roles for, you know, they're just that are going to come your way, you know. And
it's a feeding frenzy when there are, right?
Honey,
there's blood in the water.
You can't get near, you can't even get to the trough, honey. You just can't get to the trough. And for me, I mean, I'm a specific type. And the archetypes that they really want to see, you know, a woman of Zoftig, you know, stature, and you know, a cute little Cheshire cat grin is the nurturer, you know, or the sassy whatever. And right after I did The Help, it was barely in the can. I was all excited about the possibilities that were to come. Wow. And 90% of the roles, like, we have this great role for you, and it was a maid. And we have this wonderful role, DA, it was a maid. And I'm thinking, you know, here's the thing, I just played the best damn maid role written.
Amen to that.
I don't have a problem with playing a maid again, but it has to top this one. And none of them did. And so for me, it was about just looking in different places, exploring different directors who hadn't made their stripes or earned their stripes in Hollywood, but they were great talents, and you could see it because they were also writer-directors, and just, you know, sitting it out, just waiting for those
so
great
relate
roles.
to that.
You know
like
what I
straight
mean?
after Slumdog, and you know it's different because you'd put in a lot more time and work. This was my first film. I was a kid who didn't really understand the craft, and I was pushed into this very beautiful position. But afterwards, you know, I remember doing the red carpet and I kept seeing Dustin Hoffman, and he would go like this to me and Frida. We're like these wide-eyed puppies, and he's like, you're here, you're gonna go there. And I'm like, why is he saying that? It's making me sad. But peaks and valleys. Yeah. And straight after that, you know, I looked around for some substantial follow-up or something, and there wasn't, you know, there wasn't, no one really knew how to package this big floppy-eared gangly Indian dude into cinema. And you know when I see people like you know, winning Oscars, that's you know, breaking through the ceiling in such a big way, you know, for so many people. But you know, I look at your film and Lion, and I think, you know, we're going back to the whole election and stuff. I'm a British dude, so I don't have much to say, but as a global citizen, you know, I was on my way to Napa Valley Film Festival, and we were going to open the festival, and I just called out my publicist, and I was like, "What are we doing? Like, this doesn't matter. You know, I can feel like a sense of depression in the air. Why are we going there trying to promote this film?" And I went there and looked at the audience, you know, in this dark room where there's no segregation. You know, when all of you are sitting in this dark room looking at this screen, you know, there's no color or no race or anything, gender, and they were just all unanimously moved by this piece of humanity. And I realized that's why art's important to put out into the world. That's why films like yours, Hidden Figures and Lion, are really important, because they're anthems of diversity.
Absolutely.
They're anthems of love, and they're anthems of perseverance.
Absolutely.
You know?
You need to face reality.
What do you mean, reality? Do you have any idea what it's like knowing my real brother and mother spend every day of their lives looking for me?
Honey, you hit it on the head for me. I just wrapped a movie in Toronto and barely in town for 2 days before the election, and just, you know, we were on night shoots, so my sleep is all turned around. Everything's just off. And I felt after the results came in, because you have to keep in mind, half of our country is fine, and there's a half, the other half is not, and I'm a part of the not. And I kept thinking, what are we doing? And last night, it dawned on me, when I was thinking about the story of Katherine Johnson and Mary Jackson and Dorothy Vaughan, the character that I play in Hidden Figures. They had it tougher than we do. They had no agency whatsoever, but they persevered. You know, they were de facto segregation, sexism, racism, and in spite of all of that, they took us to space and back.
Yeah.
And there were no pats on the back. There were no $1 million paychecks and all these different things that come with accolades these days for people. And I thought, if those women could withstand all of that and be unsung heroes. When I saw my castmates last night, and then seeing my fellow castmates from The Help, Viola and Emma and everybody, it just lifted my spirits.
Wow.
And I realized that we have to put this type of positive energy and hope and these stories out into the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, playing a real person, it's a responsibility now more than ever. I realized that. I didn't really, I did think about it, because I felt that it was a story definitely worth telling.
Yeah.
But the impact of it was felt really at my core this week.
So you know, unfortunately, she's passed away.
Yes.
So how did you go about preparing?
Well, it's very interesting. As you know, when we start getting ready for a movie, there's all of this research, if it's a real person. If it's not, you have to, you know, make your biography of their history. And the fact that Dorothy was a woman who existed, and I started, you know, trying to find information about her on YouTube or on the internet, and YouTube, of course, was not
The
around,
interweb.
and everything, but there was very little. I found like a couple of thumbnail pictures
No
of
way.
her, and archival.
That's a travesty, isn't it?
It's crazy, right? It's crazy. But the wonderful thing was, Margot Lee Shetterly, who wrote the book Hidden Figures, had done all of this extensive research. Her book is basically a comprehensive document. And Ted Melfi, our director, being the wonderful collaborative director that he was and is, gave us only the chapters that corresponded with our characters.
Wow.
And we dug up as many pictures and everything that we could find about her. And when I saw who she was on paper, I realized what I needed to do.
You can feel her essence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I believe in that too. Like, I find mimicry very difficult, and I feel like a fraud when I'm in front of a camera. I really, when you feel like you're acting, it's just like, oh, it's so jarring.
Right.
And it's like, you know, I'm such a nervous creature, and the beauty of why I enjoy what we do is all of a sudden those voices, those little niggling voices between action and cut go away, and you're just like coasting in this other space with your actors. But no, yeah, I did get to meet Saru, which was pretty amazing. The only thing was that the first scene I shot in the movie was the end, the last moment.
Wow.
Yeah, So that was terrifying in itself.
Wow.
Garth Davis, our director, as soon as I flew to India, the first thing he said to me was, yeah, so Dev, as a little sperm, you were swimming up to this moment, so don't, mind my language, don't fuck it up. You can beep over that, sorry. And I was like, all right, no pressure then. But you know, so we had already got all this footage in the can, and then I went out to Australia to do the main body of my work. And that's when I met Saru Briley, the real guy. And he's such an incredible guy because he is the epitome of a fiercely driven young man. You know, like the characters you play, you know.
Thank you.
And, you know, I think there's a kind of parallel to both these, that there is this ferocious drive, you know, this resilience. And that's him, you know, and his memory is so impeccable because Google back then had just come out, and he's staring at this screen that's just this blurry pixels. The refresh rates took forever, and he can gather so much information and history and memory from that. And you know, I was just like, I met him recently on the press tour, and he's like, yeah, so you were wearing this t-shirt, you ordered these eggs for breakfast when we sat down, lunch. This was a song we were listening to in the car, London Grammar, Hey Now. And I'm like, yeah, we were listening to that, which is kind of weird to say, two big dudes listening to this song. But it's incredible. And, you know, I said, look, I don't look like you. And what we do as actors is we sometimes just want to sit with these guys and have a conversation. And someone will try and display something to you, but what you're looking at is something different.
Yeah, the hearts. You know? You're in.
Yeah, and the minutia.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, I was like, dude, he told me every click on that mouse pad, I felt I was getting one step closer to her. And I was like, whoa, man, that's just like, it blows your mind.